Good evening. Well, today we had the meeting at Rosehill, the 21st day of December. Swagger meetings on everywhere. Um, I don't know how the people who run the running race. You've got to put the shoe on the other foot and really say to yourself, if I were a punter with all these meetings, uh, you know, coming out of everybody's ears, could I survive? For one, no, you couldn't. They wouldn't last 2 minutes on the punt. Look, the pros employ a lot of people to keep up with do their form for them, to keep updating records and so forth. What hope has the average punter got of keeping up with the form? Can't rely on the tipsters. They'll put you in where. You can't. There's just too much racing. There's just far too much racing. Swagger meetings on this week again, and we kick off. We'll start off with Canterbury. Of course, in between last Saturday and Wednesday, there were races everywhere. There were meetings in the bush, 2 meetings every day, 2 meetings Monday and Tuesday. Why, I don't know. Nobody went to them, and tab holdings are down. Canterbury on Wednesday, the rail was 8 metres out, and the track was good, and there was a steady northeasterly breeze blowing, and which didn't stop any leaders from or affecting runners on the fence, which was an advantage. It wasn't completely greyhoundish. For instance, the last winner, it missed a kick. They did run along in the last race by the same token, and Pillow Talk, who drew a wide alley and slotted in midfield, or past midfield, coming right down the outside in a blanket finish, getting there in the last hop. So you could come from behind, but it was an advantage to be on the fence and leading and saving ground on the fence. And that's about all I would say. At Canterbury, it played typical, even though the rail was the 8 metres out. Then we went to Wyong, the Magic Millions Day, Wyong's Magic Millions Day on Thursday. The first Magic Millions was run 11 years ago at Wyong, and you couldn't move there. They used to get the first few years, they got the biggest roll up, big fields. Of course, they just slowly, not only the fields have dwindled away, but also the patrons attending, and everybody was saying this year, club officials and everybody, not only the captains, everybody commented on how what a poor roll-up they had, unfortunately, for one of just about their biggest meeting of the year, besides the Wyong Cup meeting. There was a good solid, say, southeasterly at some times to northeasterly at some times, and easterly swirling, good solid breeze. Didn't really affect any runners. It eased off a bit by the time the last race came along. The track was good, the rail was in the normal position, and there was nothing wrong with the fence. They have a new curator now at Wyong from starting this meeting on. So the track apparently was a bit patchy in places, and I don't know who the new curator is going to be, but the track might improve. And as I say, there was nothing wrong with the fence, and there were runners that came from behind. The track played fairly fair. Well, it was fair at Wyong on Thursday. And then we went to the meeting yesterday, the twilight meeting. Come out to the Turf Pub at Randwick. They advertise it as at Randwick yesterday, the twilight meeting. The first race was 3:05. Very poor roll-up. Those machines, those tab machines, are not very far away from the betting ring, and every time you look over there, there are these, like, they must have rocks in their head, haven't they? There they are, punching away for their merry life. We're betting better odds 25 yards away, but of course they keep on pressing those buttons. I suppose they're a bit like poker machines, aren't they? Which is one of the ruinations of this country. Poker machines, of course, besides the cancer of racing, which everybody knows and everybody's starting to realise, is the TAB. The interesting, this track, they say the best track in the world. Oh yes, they had to. The first race was, as I say, 3:05. They put 5 mils of irrigation on it at around midday, 3 hours before the first race, and then they ran very fast times during the day. They don't get they're going to have a big water bill, aren't they? When it gets really hot here. They'd have to water this track all the time. By the same token, you get trainers blowing up, like Joe Pride blowing up about his, Seamus, oh yes, it pulled up sore the other day, Seamus. It's always sore, Seamus. How did these, before these soft cushion tracks, how did, when they were rock hard at Randwick and when Tommy won 33 premierships in a row and all that, how come horses didn't break down? Horses a bit softer these days, are they? They've got to have the sting out of the ground all the time. Drive you mad. At Randwick on yesterday, the twilight meeting, the rail was 3 metres out. The track was good, as I say, irrigated it. 5 mils is unheard of, isn't it? 3 hours before the first race. And, the wind was out of the northeast, which is the wind which affects leaders mostly at Randwick. And of course, we did get one leader to win. That was the favourite in the third race, Cry Havoc. It was taken to the lead by the time they got to the first bend out of the back straight, and it stayed on the fence all the way and got home by a length and a quarter or 1.5 lengths. So its run and win was most probably a lot better than it looked. There were a couple of runners that sat outside the leader. It was the only leader to win, as I say. A couple of runners that sat outside the leader and runners that came from behind. So the inside, I think the inside was a little bit iffy as the day went on. And as I say, the wind could have had a little bit of a bearing on that, although it did ease off. It was lighter by races 6 and 7. And then we came to the meeting today at Rosehill, and there were some bad figures in the races for captains. But I tell you what, oh yes, we knew what we were doing. We said, here, you will bet you 90% in this race, but I bet you can't find the winner. And you grumble and grunters, I don't think you did. I'll get to that race in a minute. Now, the first race, just let me have a sip of this Pooty Blue. I'm going to give this the best caning over Christmas of all times. That low Putin, I won't tell you what he's done to me. Oh, holy dooly. Hasn't that got a kick? The first race, there was a very strong southeasterly breeze blowing here, and it stayed in the same direction all day. Could have swung around slightly the last race and was a little bit easier. It wasn't as stiff by races, say 7 and 8, but still was there. The only race that maybe had the wind had any effect was the first race, the only distance race on the program. We had 4 runners in the race, and I would say that the runner that led, Easter Island, was, even though it got beat 4.1 lengths, it was most probably a better run than it looked, because it had to run into the wind all the way until they went out of the back straight and started coming down the side. In the field of 4, the winner, Penometer, it sat back looking at the 3 leaders, three other runners, and it got off the heels turning for home and finished best, winning by 1.3 lengths. Now, after that, as I say, the wind, I don't think, had any effect on any of the races, and the fence was by far the best place to be for the remaining part of the program. And it was evident, I'd say that Bowman in race 7 most probably knew that the fence was the place to be, and when they turned for swinging for home, he was sitting in about 5th position off the fence. He did check Sir Burris, who was on his inside, trying to get over to the fence. When he did, the winner, which was extremely well backed in this race, Ralston, it went where I think, well, as it turned out, Bowman should have gone, and Sir Burris wouldn't have been able to come off his back and beat him. He went back to the inside, and as I say, caused a bit of interference, checked himself, and but I'd say he was saying to himself, I've got to find the 18 pence because it's the best. But the winner, it went where he was, well, if the fence wasn't playing like it was, and that was the way I think he was thinking, he would have gone, of course, the other way, and he would have got home. But we'll get to that race. The first race, on the screen, they said there was 101.5 to make you laugh. 97.5 only in the marketplace, and Penometer, as I say, sat in 4th in the field of 4, and I think that race was, the leader was wind affected, and the winner was benefited by wind cover. The second race, now this winner was a very good win, and this race bookies bet 102.6 showing for the robots and everybody interstate, 102.6 on the flux screen, the best flucked screen, 99.5 in the marketplace. This winner sat midfield. It had barrier 3 runners, it's 9. It had barrier 8 in a field of 9 and sat 3 wide the entire journey and fought on very, very well. There was a protest in this race. Second was third against second, and it was upheld. The third horse was beat. The margins were 0.1. The winner won by about, say, a head sort of thing. 1.6 lengths away to the third horse, Cyclone, who I have no doubt, not that the winner wasn't a good run, sat 3 wide on a limb all the way. Obviously has got plenty of potential, but Cyclone did have the soft run and was going to go straight through. It led on the fence, the first starter, Balkanchum, and it led with Quietly Brilliant, the runner that won very easily at Canberra, and Nash aboard Francesco, the stablemate to Cyclone. He was looking at the pair, and when they turned or flattened out, I think that Cyclone, well, Quietly Brilliant came out first and gave Nash a bit of a nudge. And when that happened, Francesca then came in fairly badly, and trying to get in between the leader on the fence, which was weakening badly, ridden by Brendan Abdullah, and Quietly Brilliant was Cyclone, and it got completely stopped in its tracks. When this was taking place, it was at least a length in front of the winner, going as good, if not better, but as I say, had the soft run on the fence. But it was, if the split would have came, it would have gone straight through and it would have won. But it got stopped in its tracks, lost all of its momentum. Nash had got past the 2 leaders, and then it was up to the winner, Cumont, with Kerrin aboard, to Clever Kerrin, to come down the outside and grab it. But as I say, losing all of its momentum and then getting to the line, having an easy time to the lead, just the last few stride ease down, was the unlucky Cyclone. So the winner and Cyclone, by far the best two runs in that race. The third race, now this was a good race. I'll give you the flux in this race. They said there was only 96.4 on the flux screen, but in the marketplace there was only 89.5. Call it 90. These were the flux. Now, even though we only gave 90%, it was a huge result for the captains, because the winner, Bring a Ring, Ding-a-ling-ding, didn't have a price. The Grumble and Grunters said, no, you can have number one here, Bring a Ring. We want to be on all of the others. Well, not all of the others, but we want to be on Marty. And I've got to say, Marty was most probably a bit unlucky. Anyway, these were the flux. Bring a Ring went from $3.70 to $6.50. Would the owners of Bring a Ring please step forward? They were there somewhat, but they never stepped into the betting ring. They must have backed it out wide. Big result. The next runner, Global Dream, the runner from Queensland, $5 out to $8.50, back into $7.50. Mademoiselle, $4.60 to $6, back into $5.50. Marty, sensationally backed, lost the race when the gates opened. $4 out to $4.20, into $2.80 they said, but I think I might have been at least $2.90, if not $3 when they jumped. The next runner, Il Mio Destino, was $12 out to $18. A Saucy Schnitzel was $11 out to $15, back into $12. And Kona was $10 out to $11, back into $8.50, around about 90. The winner never had a price. As I say, Marty, when the gates, it's very sort of one pace, not that it showed speed to lead at Canterbury from an outside alley. When the gates opened today, I think the runner beside it as well, which was Global Dream, but both of them, but I did see, especially Marty, because it was drawn on the inside, he didn't go down on his nose by any means, but he did just stumble out of the barriers, and that was enough for him not to be able to hold the lead. It crossed and led him Il Destino, and at the turn, as Mark Sheen said, Marty was being very, very hard ridden. When they hit the line, the margins were 0.1 by 0.2 by 0.6. The first 6 runners hit the line. There's only 1.6 between them. Marty did have the soft run on the fence, so I suppose that it was a flatter mark for it. But as I say, if it would have come out of the barriers cleanly, I think it might have been able to hold the lead, and I'm sure whoever was on its outside, if it was pressured, it would have kept on going, and I have no doubt that it would have won. By the same token, it was on the fence. I'll have to look at it a bit closely, because the horse, well, not being the horse that ran 5th in the race was Kona, and it settled down last, and it finished widest in the straight, which was not the place to be, or to try and make up ground out wide today. The 4th race came along. They said 102 on the Fluck screen, 97% only in the marketplace. If you only knew. If you only knew. Oh my God. Only 97% in the marketplace. And when they hit the line, between the first 5 place getters, there was under 1 length, 0.9 of a length between the first 5. Who stuck its bib out right on the line to grab victory? It was Mighty Lucky, who drew barrier 1, again emphasising how the fence was an advantage. The horse that led on the fence ran second, and running third was the favourite, Longshoreman, who was up there early, but then Nash eased. He was going to get trapped wide. He went back into 5th place. It was a bit one-paced up the straight. But as I say, it was hard to make ground up off the fence, and it was only beaten 0.4 of a length. A 20 to 1 chance who sat in the 1-1 position was only beaten half a length, and coming from last, right down the outside, was the Diamond Jim off a let up, coming from last, right down the outside, only beaten 0.9 of a length. So its run was all right, or the runners that were up near the lead and on the fence, well, their runs were obviously flattered. Oh my God, Father, excuse me. So that was about the race. If there were no bias on the track, or even run this race again, you could get different results as the track played. But if there was no bias, well, you most certainly would get a different result than we had. Race 5, they said there was 106.2 on the screen. The neat 100 in the marketplace. Played Swy with the punters again. Here, we'll head them up, and less the Toyota Lexus, of course. And this race was won by the Avery. Nash took no prisoners. He said, I'm having a little holiday. I got a little suspension yesterday. I haven't read the steward's report tonight. Unfortunately for Nash, he most probably got, it could cause a bit of interference in that protest race. I don't think it was entirely him. It was more or less the horse and the nudge he got first. But anyway, he took no prisoners here on this Avery calming influence. He said, I'm going straight to the lead. He went to the lead, let this runner run along. She's a stalker, sat on us outside. He got rid of it fairly easily on the turn, sat down in his lovely style, and away he went and won by 2.5 lengths, having the favour of the track on the fence, leading and on the saving ground, which was an advantage. Who ran second in this race? Oh, it was 3 back on the fence. Omniscent. It had barrier 1. It got inside, or went around. The runner that was directly behind the favourite on the fence was number 3, Words of Weapons. Most probably went around it, but it did save ground all the way. Again, emphasising the fence the best and making up a lot of ground, finding the line very, very well. Was Holy Delusions, but the winner did win fairly easily, but had the bias in its favour. Race 6, odd fat here, fat, sweet as a nuts all over now. You're in trouble, grumblers. 109.1, didn't we give it to you here? That was on the flux screen. 103, 6 less in the marketplace. Where do I see 6% here? Oh, the odd bit here and the odd bit there, all adds up, about 6% less. And who won this race? Oh yes, it was won by Lines. It went straight to the front, the designated leader, Zaratone, and Lines, ridden by Clever Karen, he came across and sat on us outside. Who ran second in this race? Oh yes, it was Babel, the second, or the favourite, and it had barrier 2, and it was 3rd on the fence. And who had barrier 1 and ran 3rd? Oh, it was Gangster's Choice, and it was on the back of Babel. It went through, and it ran 3rd. And who ran 4th in the race? It was number 9, Disciple, who sat in 5th position, and it ran fairly, and the leader ran 6th or 5th, Zaratone. But again, up near the lead and on the fence, the place to be. It was a strong win, Limes. It flucked $4.40 out to, you wouldn't see, $5 given on the fence and in the outside ring, and it started $4.80 on the fence. Well, it was $4.80 the field when they jumped on the betting was 15 to 4 the field. Babel and Lime starting $4.80 a pair. And where did they run? They ran the Quinella. The 2 15 to 4 picks. They ran 1-2. But as I say, the fence and up near the leadish was an advantage, and that helped them get home. Now we got to race 7, and in race 7 they said there was 103.9 on the screen. The neat again 100. Well, head them up. 100 in the marketplace, about 4 less, and this was the runner all day that came from well back but off a very fast pace and was extremely well backed. I lost on this race. It was 60s into 30s. I'm talking about the bottom one here, Ralston, number 13. It settled back in 3rd last position. Now, Huey was 3 runners in 3 pair in 3 in front of it. He had there were 2 runners between them, and Huey was always off the fence. He was about a half a length to 3/4 of a length in front of Sir Burris, who had barrier 2. When they turned for home, Huey was obviously most probably instructed, or he knew himself, that the fence was the place to be, and there was a mile of room for him to switch around River of Salvation, who was sitting in 4th position. But no, he went back, caused a bit of interference to himself, along as well as checking Sir Burris, and the winner had come off the fence, Ralston, from 3rd last position, went in between Sir Burris and Villanova, who started favourite and was sensationally back, but the SP was wrong. We'll get to that in a minute. And it took the position where Huey, instead of going around River of Salvation, the rider, Brendan, no, who rode it? Nathan Berry, Neat Nathan, he went straight through that gap. Huey had gone back to the fence. There was only one place for the winner to go, and that was around their heels, and he came down the outside, about the middle of the track, and finish up winning by a half a length, beating Two Blue, who lost his momentum at that stage, but did find the fence, which was a place to be. But maybe if Huey had gone around River of Salvation, I don't think the winner would have been able to come off his back and beat him. By the same token, there were 3, 6, the first 9 place getters here, there were 10 runners. The first 9 place getters, there were only 2.8 lengths between them, and run this race again, and you would get a few different results. By the same token, the winner was the runner to make up ground and win all day. It set a very fast pace, Almighty Charge, ridden by Nash from barrier 1, and it ran along. Rastro chased it. Darcy Wood got a lovely suck, 3rd, and on its outside, River of Salvation. The winner was extremely well backed by one of the pros. Won an absolute bucketful. Now, we came to the last race, and on the screen, they said there was 109.1. Now, all the robots were quite happy. Oh my God. The robots were very happy, but in the marketplace, whew, a neat 100. A neat 100. And we saw, well, this winner, Emblems, who was very well backed by one of the pros. This pro, at the moment, I think the last 10 bets he's had with me, he's backed 9 winners. He has won. Oh, talk about a shite houseful. He has won a couple of shite housefuls. Emblems. What won Emblems this race, not taking anything away from it, was a very strong win, but what won Emblems this race was Shelford and also Fireball, when they were starting to hit the first bend. Those 2 runners easing, allowing Carmen King, who finished up running last, beaten 16.5 lengths, tailed off, allowing it to come across and lead on the fence and dragging emblems across with it. And when clever Kerrin McAvoy got on the outside of Carmine King, he didn't have to, he was in the perfect position. And when they flattened out, he got Carmine King was under pressure before they got to the turn. He didn't have to move as quick as he had, because nothing was really coming at him, and he waited till he flattened out. About the furlong and a half pole, he went for it and he got the winning break. Now, when you watch the replay, you will see, of course, the second horse here, Red Excitement. It drew barrier 2. It settled down last on the fence, ridden by brilliant Brendan Abdallah. And when they turned for home, the runner that was also held up from barrier 1, Mercia, it was 3 back on the fence, and the second horse was last on the fence, so four horses back. He eased around its heels. There was nowhere for Red Excitement to go, and when Kerrin had gone for the winner, Brendan Abdallah, brilliant, was being held up, losing his momentum, and then getting mobile again, and halfway or about the furlong pole, wasn't held up, but again slightly losing his momentum, easing off heels, getting a split, and finding the line very strongly, only beaten 1 length. An uninterrupted run, or a little bit closer than where it would have been, I think it would have got the money. But there were other runners in this race that were good runs. One of them being Skip Town, the rider, Ichikawa. He was a victim of circumstances. He looked like he was going to slot into a good position early in the piece, but then all of a sudden he found himself 3 wide on a limb, and it moved up. Oh my God, excuse me! It moved up when they turned for home wide. It did sort of put in a short sprint, but the winner had too good a run up near the lead, and being wide had told on him, and it was only beaten about 2.6 or 7 lengths. So its run was good as well. But it Red Excitement with, I suppose, hadn't spent any money on the fence by the same token, but it doesn't get held up. It has an uninterrupted run. There's a good chance it would have won the race. That was the program at Rosehill. We all know what season it is. Of course, there's races on tomorrow. My next meeting, like most people in Sydney, isn't until Boxing Day next Thursday. So I hope you have a very, very safe and Merry Christmas and good health to everybody. Good evening.